Kathy, a woman who unraveled her 30-year marriage in pursuit of freedom and joy. I've been married to Kathy for more than 30 years. We met when we were young. She was my everything. Now I'm 59, and she's 55. We have 3 adult children together. Our life has had its ups and downs, but through it all, we've always supported each other. Kathy means the world to me. In recent years, Kathy made friends who are passionate about topics like feminism, identity politics, and social justice. While their beliefs differ from mine, I never thought much of it. People are entitled to their own views. Kathy and I occasionally discussed these ideas, but I didn't engage deeply. To me, they were just nonsense. Kathy sometimes voiced strong opinions about how women had been oppressed for centuries. I didn't understand it because Kathy herself hadn't faced any discrimination or hardship like that. Honestly, these conversations unsettled me. I would try to steer our talks to other topics whenever they came up. I'd seen women on TV shouting similar things, often sounding illogical to me. They'd argue, scream, and insult people when they couldn't win debates. I began to worry that Kathy was being influenced by those ideologies. One day, Kathy told me she felt our marriage had become dull. Her words hit me hard. I suggested therapy to work on our relationship, but she declined. Instead, she said she needed a solo vacation. Reluctantly, I agreed. I thought it might give her clarity or a fresh perspective. But later, I discovered she hadn't gone alone. She'd traveled with her friends, the same ones I considered toxic influences. When Kathy returned after a week, she seemed like a completely different person. Her hair was cut short, and she carried herself with an unfamiliar confidence. She didn't hug me or greet me warmly, which felt deeply unsettling. It was as though I was looking at a stranger. After her return, Kathy spent even more time with her friends and started joining protests, some of which I didn't support. I voiced my concerns during a serious conversation, asking her to reconsider the direction her life was heading. I told her I was worried for her and for us, but she dismissed my concerns and continued as before. The situation escalated when she was detained during a protest that had blocked traffic. I had to pick her up from the police station. The car ride home was tense and filled with silence. I tried to address my feelings, but Kathy remained unresponsive. It was as though she had built a wall I couldn't break through. Stop. If you love your parents, then like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you didn't like the video or subscribe to the channel, it means you don't love them. If you don't love them, then write hate in the comments. Continue. Not long after, Kathy began creating content for TikTok. She used the platform to share her feminist ideas and gradually gained a following. I watched as she poured more and more time into making videos, dressing up, rehearsing, and editing. It consumed her energy and focus. One day, out of curiosity, I stumbled across one of her videos. Watching it horrified me. In the video, Kathy addressed her audience. "Good morning. Do you want to avoid becoming one of those miserable older women? None of us want that, right? But we've all seen them. Women who are bitter, always complaining, nagging their husbands. We hope that's not us, but you know how it happens. It starts innocently. We raise a family, work hard, and suddenly we're in our 50s or 60s, and we realize we've lost ourselves. Our lives revolve around our family or husband, and we feel empty, resentful even. So here's what I think. We need to create lives for ourselves, separate from our roles as wives or mothers. Something that fulfills us, makes us feel alive. A good marriage doesn't guarantee happiness. We don't necessarily need a divorce, but we do need to rediscover ourselves. Life is short. If this year were our last, would we want to keep living the way we are now? Probably not. We can enjoy our marriages, sure, but we also need to be our own people. Women shouldn't feel stuck. There's so much to explore, so many ways to find fulfillment even after the kids are grown. Life doesn't end when they leave. Let's find a way to live each day fully. I hope this helps. As I watched, I felt a wave of betrayal. To me, it seemed like Kathy was encouraging women to leave their marriages. Even if she didn't explicitly say it, the message felt like a subtle nudge toward divorce. A declaration that marriage alone wasn't enough to bring joy. It broke my heart to think she might be speaking from her own unhappiness. Our 30 years together suddenly felt fragile, as though they were being rewritten under this new version of Kathy, a woman I could hardly recognize. That evening, I went home and confronted Kathy. To my shock, she told me she was leaving. Her bags were already packed. I begged her to reconsider, but she was resolute. She said she was bored with her life and wanted freedom and happiness. "I don't want the responsibilities of being a grandma or your wife," she snapped. "I want to enjoy my life and explore beyond this prison." Her words left me speechless. I felt as though I had lost my wife to toxic people who had poisoned her mind. I didn't try to stop her. Instead, I simply said, "I'll miss you. Come back when you're done exploring." Kathy moved into a small apartment in the city center. I informed our kids about what had happened, and they reassured me that she was likely going through a phase. They believed she would return home eventually. I clung to that hope and waited. However, my hope was short-lived. A few weeks later, I received divorce papers. It was clear she had planned this all along. This wasn't just a phase. I tried calling Kathy, but she didn't answer. My kids also reached out to her, trying to change her mind, but she shut them down. A few weeks later, our divorce was finalized. After 30 years of marriage, I was now single. The very next day, I saw a new video Kathy had posted online. Well, I did it. Here I am on my new bed, which feels like a princess bed. It rained all day yesterday while I was moving, but today I woke up feeling different. I felt free, like a weight had been lifted off me. For the first time in years, I feel genuinely excited. My place is still a bit of a mess. I haven't unpacked everything yet, and the apartment is small, so I'll need to organize like crazy. But I'm grateful for this change. It's been a couple of weeks of non-stop moving, but now I'm finally settled into my new apartment. Tomorrow I'll give you a little tour of it. Oh, and my very handsome boyfriend is making dinner for me. Life is good. I was heartbroken. Kathy hadn't just walked out on our marriage. She had destroyed everything we had built together. Now, she had replaced me in her life with a handsome boyfriend. My kids saw the video too. They called to console me and encouraged me to move on with my life. Eventually, I did. After some time, I met an amazing woman named Maya. She was in her early 40s, a high school teacher, and single. We clicked instantly and soon began a steady relationship. I never informed Kathy about Maya. I didn't see the need. A few months later, I planned a trip with my kids and Maya so that everyone could get to know each other. Maya, ever kind-hearted, suggested I invite Kathy as well. She believed it was important for Kathy to know that I had moved on and was happy. Reluctantly, I called Kathy and invited her to join the trip. Initially, she refused. I didn't tell her about Maya at the time. Later, my daughter called Kathy and convinced her to come, warning that the invitation wouldn't be extended again. On the day of the trip, I had arranged for an amazing boat ride for the family. Kathy arrived last, alone. When she boarded, I introduced her to Maya. "This is Maya," I said. "She's my partner now, and she's made me incredibly happy." I wish I had a picture of Kathy's face in that moment. Her expression was a mix of shock, anger, and disbelief. Her face turned red, and it was clear she hadn't expected me to move on with my life. Throughout the trip, I couldn't help but enjoy her discomfort. While Maya had suggested the invitation out of kindness, I took some satisfaction in Kathy's reactions. A few days later, we stumbled upon another one of Kathy's videos. The last few days have been extremely traumatizing for me, and I blame myself for what's happened even though I know it's not entirely my fault. I've been separated from my husband for over a year now, but we've still spent time together as a family. He always reassured me that he wasn't seeing anyone. Recently, my daughter convinced me to join a family trip. She said I might not get another invitation. I didn't want to give my ex-husband the wrong idea, but I agreed to go. What hurt me the most wasn't finding out that he's in a new relationship. Kathy tried to justify her actions by posting yet another video. I have a boyfriend myself, but what hurt the most was that my ex-husband didn't tell me about his new relationship. I had always felt safe around him, believing he still loved me. When he invited me on that trip with our daughters, I accepted, thinking it was a step toward reconciliation. However, during the trip, I discovered some hurtful texts. What followed was horrifying. The trauma was intense. I had a physical and emotional breakdown and completely lost control of my emotions. It was a terrible experience, and I'm still struggling to cope with it. But Kathy's distress wasn't about losing me as a person. It was about losing access to the stability and resources I provided. What truly triggered her was realizing that I loved another woman. Not just romantically, but deeply. Unlike Kathy's boyfriend, who only offered a casual relationship, I was fully committed to Maya, emotionally and financially. I wanted to build a future with her. For Kathy, the real trauma was losing her place in my life to another woman. Shortly after the trip, Kathy began calling me frequently. She expressed remorse and tried to remind me of the time I told her to come back if she ever wanted to. Her words were filled with regret, but I told her firmly, "It's too late, Kathy. That boat has sailed. You made your choice, and now you must live with the consequences." A few days later, Kathy posted yet another video. "Things aren't going that great for me. I keep thinking about how it used to be, back when life was good. Maybe this is all my fault. Maybe I'm selfish or self-centered. I'm struggling with all the pretending, with putting on a happy face. At first, I think I was in shock, but now reality is sinking in. I know people go through worse things, but I can't stop thinking about the life I used to have. I keep remembering the good moments. It's hard to think about anything bad. I miss my family. I miss us being a family. Maybe it's worth staying miserable if it means having them back. Because without them, I don't know who I am anymore. I'm not crying because I've been drinking. I'm crying because it's just really hard. Everything I've ever known feels like it's gone. My family isn't together anymore, even though they're still physically here." My daughter called me after seeing this video. She asked me if there was anything I could do to help her mother. I replied calmly, "Your mother chose this life. She wanted freedom. She has it now, a new life, a new boyfriend, and the ability to explore the world. I tried to stop her once, but this is the path she chose." My daughter sighed, agreeing with me. "You're right, Dad, but it's hard not to feel bad for her bad decisions." Another video soon followed from Kathy. "Good morning. Sometimes I wonder what I'm doing and why I made the choices I did. Last night, I had a dream about my estranged husband. He came to me, saying he'd hurt his hand badly and was crying. In the dream, he needed my help, and I suggested moving in to take care of him. It felt like we were starting over, the way things used to be. It was upsetting to wake up. I know it's just a dream, but I think my body is telling me that I still love him. I always will, but everything is different now." In the video, Kathy also expressed frustration about the divorce. "Sometimes I get so angry. Why doesn't he believe I deserve a fair share? He's offered me some money, but it's not enough. Everything we had, I helped build. My parents lent us money, and I was there for him through thick and thin. Now I'm struggling. After 30 years of taking care of someone, I feel undervalued. Some people, especially men, think women don't deserve anything. They think we're freeloaders. It's hard. I feel like I've lost everything. My family, my home, my place in the world." I saw the video and couldn't help but feel she was spiraling. She wasn't being honest. She had received a fair divorce settlement. I had done everything by the book as per the law, yet she was trying to paint me as a villain while refusing to take responsibility for her bad choices. I wanted to retaliate. I even considered suing her for defamation, but Maya, ever the voice of reason, stopped me. "Ignore her," she said. "It's not worth it." My kids, however, took action. They called Kathy and demanded that she apologize for her posts. They told her plainly that if she didn't, she would be cut off from their lives. With no other choice, Kathy issued a half-hearted apology, blaming her mental health for her behavior. A few days later, Maya and I got married. It was a simple, beautiful ceremony, surrounded by those who truly care for us. I made the decision to unfollow Kathy on all social media. I had finally moved on. Dear listeners, if you've made it this far, don't forget to click the subscribe button. Your support means the world to us.